Hello everybody, and welcome to my introductory video to Deep Effect Studio. So let's get started. This will be a very short video, just giving you the basics of what everything is, the philosophy, and how to get started quickly. So when you start up the program, you'll be presented with this view here. This view here. On the right, you have the scene graph. Scene graph represents the whole view, or the actual scene, all the nodes in the scene. So not just the things you see in the viewport, but all the nodes that make up your final project. So I'm just going to add a simple node just to show you what a node looks like. So we've got a value node and then add node. So all nodes will look something like this. They'll have inputs and outputs. Okay, so some nodes, one second. Some nodes like this will have round inputs and square inputs. Square inputs just represent one unit of value, and then round ones represent arrays of values. Okay, that's the main difference between the input nodes. The other main difference is just the colors of the nodes. Okay, I'm just delete these. For example, I'm going to add some shapes. So on the right side of on the left side, sorry, of the interface, you'll find the primitives, inbuilt primitives. We've got a plane, square, and sphere and torus, of course. So I'm just going to add a sphere to the scene. So to navigate in the viewport, you just hold down the Alt key to rotate, then Alt Control to zoom in, to zoom out, then Alt Shift to pan the scene. Okay. And then in the viewport, you can toggle the wireframe and solid mode and the grid, of course. And of course, you've got your standard widgets. You've got the transform widget, rotate widget, and of course the scale widget. All standard things if you've used other packages. So since everything is node based in Studio, there's no undo stack. So to reset stuff, you just simply go to the node and just put it back in its default state, I guess. In the future, we might support limited transformation stacks, but for now, we don't find it useful unless people want it, of course. So yes, that's the viewport. Then on the lower left, you've got your scene view. This just represents every node in your scene, of course. So and the icons on the side will represent what type of nodes they are. And the three types of nodes in Deep Rising, Deep Effect Studio, of course. This is a view node. And wait, let me just put back a scalar node here for 1 second. And generic nodes. So generic nodes will have this icon. They're just generic. And then view nodes will have this little shapes. So view nodes are nodes that you can view in the viewport, and you can toggle them, of course. You can put them visible, not visible. Generic nodes are not visible, so toggling does nothing. But that's there. I'm just delete this again. Okay, so next up, I'm just gonna do a simple example. Just before I forget, then also you've got your console node where you can enter your basic commands. Please refer to the documentation for extra information on these two, and the Python IDE, of course, right here. That'll be a separate video on the SDK API for that. So let's get started. For the rest of the intro, I'm just going to do a quick example to show you what the procedure workflow is all about. So for this, I'm just going to use OpenVDB. So OpenVDB is just a powerful volumetric library. Of course, it's an industry standard thing. I'm sure you've heard of it. If you haven't, this is your first time seeing it, and everything will make sense. It's not that complicated, I guess, the way we have implemented it here. So what we're going to do is combine two different types of objects together. So I'm going to add a sphere to the scene. Okay, I'm just going to move it to the side. Let's just put our sphere at the bottom here. So since everything's procedural, you need to follow a certain procedure order to these things. I'll explain a bit more in a moment. So let me add another mesh to volume. Okay, so DeepFX Studio, nothing I should mention, does a little bit of data hiding. So for more complex data structures like mesh data, just bigger data structures, they're hidden behind this purple node. Okay, so the node in front will decide what type of data it needs, and it will search the node behind it and just collect the data automatically. So what the VDB to mesh node does is just looks back and finds the mesh data that's in these objects. Okay, so but if you want the detailed explanation, just please look at the online documentation for this. Okay, so it goes into in depth of how everything works. That talks about trait IDs, which really become useful when you start coding in Python, I guess. Oh, so to use the view, just a few tips on the scene graph editor. To pan, it's just the left mouse button. You can pan your scene. Use the right mouse button to select, and middle mouse button to zoom in, to zoom out. Then to fit everything, if you've got big networks, you just go to view, and view all nodes. We'll show all the nodes in the viewport. Okay, so moving on. So next, what we're gonna do, obviously, once we've got our VDBs, we're gonna combine them. So there's a Boolean node for this. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. So none of these, the VDB nodes are not, obviously, as you can see here, they're not view nodes, so they're not viewable in the viewport. And that's for a good reason. Not every node is a view node, because some of these nodes take a long time to process, so they're gonna hang the viewport. So you should be picky about what you want to view. I'll show you. So there's a specific viewer for mesh data. By default, the mesh data will be viewable. Obviously, it's common sense, but most of the time you will need a viewer to view the data inside the nodes. Okay, so then once that's out, we're gonna just go to items and add an object viewer. And I'm just gonna point this into that. Okay, so then I'm gonna hide the original meshes so we can see this. So we've got this really rough mesh. Okay, so to show that everything is interactive, we're just gonna up the resolution for this. So we're gonna go to the VDB voxel size. Once again, going into depth about OpenVDB will be another tutorial. So we can just gonna shrink the voxel resolution. Essentially, that's what we're doing here. Okay, to get a finer view of what's happening. So as you can see now, we've got a more smoother mesh. Of course, you can crank up the value as high as you want to get something way smoother than this. Okay, that's about it for the introduction. I hope this video has helped you understand, helped you to get started essentially. So to delve deeper into the other nodes, if you feel adventurous, just look at the documentation. I think it's well presented. You can get started in some of the systems. But of course, we'll be making more videos on specific areas of deep rising effects. Thank you. Sorry, not deep rising, that's another project. DeepFX Studio. Thank you. So yeah, and so see you next time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope the video helped you get started quickly. Okay.